So welcome everybody, and so fantastic to see you. I hope you're all having a fantastic 2024 so far. It just seems like I can't believe we're the end of February already. It's like whizzing by. So wonderful to see you. Before we start, just want to give a little bit of an introduction. I think most of you know us, but not all of you will know us. A little bit of an introduction to those of us from the PRP support team who are on the call today. So first of all, I'm Mary Cowan. I'm the PRP from the UK. So I live down in South Wales. I've been part of OMERAC now since I think about 2013, 2012, 2013. And I've been on the OMERAC PRP support team for a couple of years now. So done a few of the OMERAC meetings. I've done Budapest, I've done Canada, and most recently last year in Colorado Springs. So I'm going to hand over to Kathy first to say hi to you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that live in North America, it's dark o'clock outside. And thank you for getting up so early to be with us. And I'm Kathy Hofstetter. I chair the PRP support team. I've been involved with OMERAC since I think 2010. And I've been to the same conferences that Mary's been to. Oddly enough, we both missed Australia in there somewhere. We have a terrific PRP support team. I'm not sure that she's on the call, but I'd like to let everyone know who knows the PRP support team that Maya Desai has agreed to join our team as an additional PRP, and we'll get the new patient perspective from her. So anyway, thank you again for joining. I hope this is a good discussion, and I hope that we can answer your questions.
Fab. Thank you, Kathy. And next up, Ingrid, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Ingrid de Groot. I live in the Netherlands, and it's really nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones as well. So very welcome to all of you. I was with OMERAC since 2015. I've been to Canada. I did do Australia, which was fantastic, and last year in Colorado as well. I'm a PRP for the myositis working group in OMERAC, and I'm a member of the support team, I don't know, for a couple of years now. And I just want to say that we also have one person who's missing due to time zone differences, who's in Australia, which is Ben Hogan. So yeah, well, good to see you.
Thank you, Ingrid. And finally, Shauna, would you like to say hi to everyone? Shauna's the uber important one on our team, I must say.
No.
Yes,
Good
definitely.
morning. So I'm Shauna Grossleg. I'm based in Toronto. You can see out my lovely window here. I've been with OMERAC since 2010 as well. So I joined when Kathy joined. And I've been to all the meetings so far, including the virtual one. Hopefully we don't have to do that again. And yeah, no, it's been great to see how the PRP support team has really grown over the past, I would say, 5-6 years. So it's really neat to see its next evolution in this application process.
Fabulous. Thanks, Shauna. So just a few bits of housekeeping. If you could keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking, that would be fantastic, because sometimes we just get a little bit of feedback. Also, if you want to ask any questions at any time, there's going to be ample time at the end. And we are recording the session as well. So don't feel you've got to scribble copious amount of notes. You can concentrate on what we're talking about on the slides rather than taking notes. But if you want to ask a question, drop the question in the chat and we can come to it at the end. Or if you just want to save your question till the end, that would be wonderful. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to cover today, Kathy's going to come in shortly to give an introduction about OMERAC 2025. So a little bit about our mission, some of the themes and topics that we want to cover in 2025, which is going to be quite exciting. We're going to talk a little bit about the PRP role and why it's so important to OMERAC as well, and the responsibilities and the expectations of PRPs at the meeting. So we want to introduce the new application form, particularly for you as well, because this is quite new for the 2025 session. Ingrid's going to talk through that application form for you as well and give you some guidance on completing that. And then we'll give you a little bit of a roundup and a reminder of actually how to apply, but also the really important deadlines and the things that you need to include for that as well. So I'm going to zip it now and let you get on with the really important bits and hand you over to Kathy.
Terrific. So as many of you probably know, our destination for May 2025, our dates are the 14th to the 18th, and we are going to Antalya, Turkey. And so our mission for that, as it says on the screen, is to empower advancements in rheumatology. OMRAC 2025 is dedicated to refining composite measure validation methods, championing equity, diversity, and inclusivity, and enhancing instrument selection. So those are the big ones. We aim to progress innovation and collaboration and patient involvement across 16 special interest group sessions, solidifying our commitment to meaningful outcomes and a more inclusive research community. So there was a call that went out at the beginning of December, late November, early December, for anyone who wanted to apply for a special interest group session. And lo and behold, there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth that it had to come in early, much earlier than normal. And yet we got 26 applications for the 16 spots. So the 16 special interest groups have been chosen for OMRAC 2025. The working groups have been informed that they were successful, and there's a couple of spares just in case something goes sideways for one of them. And so this will be the next step, is for us to do this application for the patient research partners. So we always have a mission and a theme for our conferences. And the themes this year, the 3 methods workshops will be the ones I just talked about, and the 16 special interest group sessions. And then the innovations in patient involvement and engagement will be the peers framework and the scale that we introduced at Colorado Springs last May. So we're continuing on with that work. We've got a bit of a grant to help us to introduce it and integrate it into the special interest groups. So next slide, Shauna, please. Are we distributing these slides to everyone, Shauna?
I can for sure with the minutes. I mean,
Yeah,
with the
so that we
recording.
don't have to go through and read all of the stuff, that they can do that at their leisure. So
Yeah.
I think anybody who's familiar with OMRAC understands what a PRP is, and our definition, which we have been tweaking as we go along. An OMRAC PRP is an individual, which can include a caregiver, and who has lived experience with a rheumatic or musculoskeletal condition and actively participates within OMRAC. Their role is to infuse the research process with their unique PRP perspective, ensuring that OMRAC's initiatives are truly patient-centered, addressing real-world concerns and enhancing the relevance of outcomes. By collaborating alongside researchers, clinicians, and other collaborators and partners, OMRAC PRPs play a pivotal role in shaping research that resonates with the needs and experiences of musculoskeletal patients generally. So patient input is integral to OMRAC's work. Patient research partners are integrated within all our working groups, and they play a pivotal role in developing research agendas and moving that work forward. So, and as time has gone on, we have become more and more important as we develop the skill sets that you need to be able to participate in OMRAC in a very meaningful way. I think that the participation of PRPs in OMRAC is one of the highlights of any OMRAC conference, and they're generally very well received, and your work is appreciated really, really well with all of the working groups. Next slide, Shauna, please. So as I said, you have an integral role as a collaborator, bringing your lived experience, and it's your personal lived experience that we're looking for. We understand that most of you probably work in the larger musculoskeletal community. You work with other organizations, you work with other people, and that does inform part of who you are, but it's your own personal experiences, your own personal perspectives, your priorities that we want to see when you are sitting in the chair at OMERACT. So there are some responsibilities, and we started this with the last OMERACT, where there is once you are chosen to come to OMERACT, there's some learning that has to be done. There are different modules that have been prepared, and we expect you to go through them. We present all that to you. We have meetings, we have happy hours where we present this, and so we're available at any time if you're struggling with any of them, but we do expect you to do the work. And we want you to engage actively. If you're a new PRP, that could be really, really daunting, but we do expect you to kind of leave that at the door and be brave and speak up, because there are no stupid questions. The only stupid question is the one that you're too afraid to ask. And chances are that everybody else in the room who is unfamiliar with that group is thinking the same thing, but not wanting to ask the question too. So, we encourage you to be brave and speak up and put your perspective out on the table so that it can be part of that whole discussion. So we expect you to do the work. We expect you to be an active engager with the group when you're in either a workshop or a special interest group. We want you to participate very respectfully and to consider that there are other people that have opinions that may not agree with yours. And we want you to embrace this experience, because it's a phenomenal experience to be at an OMERACT conference, and you learn a lot. It's actually, information overload at times. It's an exhausting conference to attend. It's very fast paced. And so we expect you to do that. We expect you to network and get to know people, because you may work in one working group, but by the experience of working in another one or talking to somebody different, you may find that you're interested in that working group as well. So we have some expectations that you will commit to OMERACT's principles and be an active participant. We want you to be punctual, be professional. So you're punctual for all of your meetings and your workshops. We want you to offer constructive feedback, not critical feedback. Do it in a constructive way, so that's respectful, and to engage in the training that we provide, the educational opportunities that we present to you. And we also expect you to adhere to the confidentiality and ethical guidelines that we have, and to help us to improve the PRP program by reflecting back to us what your experience has been, good, bad, or indifferent, so that we can continue to improve this role for the PRPs and the program that we put together. Next slide, Shauna. So I will turn it over to Ingrid, and she has actually filled out her application, so she knows what's involved, and she's going to go through this for you.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy. So we just heard about the roles and responsibilities and expectations for PRPs, and we really take those seriously. So just to give you an idea, inviting a PRP to an OMERACT conference costs about, something between $5,000 and $15,000. So that's a lot of money. And we also want to be accountable to our sponsors and funders for how we share that money. So one way to do this is a more thorough and detailed selection progress than we had so far, and in which we ask all patient research partners applying exactly the same questions. So that is both fair and transparent, and it will also help the selection committee actually to decide who will be invited to the next OMERACT. So there's a lot of information on this slide, like personal information. What we want is, of course, full name, contact details, information like that, contact number, country of birth. You see experience and involvement, PRP, experience and involvement. And that is, it's good to know, especially for people who are new to OMRAC, that it doesn't have to be OMRAC related per se. So if you have experience as a patient research partner in some other network in your own country or internationally or with EULAR or whatever, that also counts. So by all means, share that with us, please. So these are questions. When you fill the application form, you will see that these questions are on history and experience as a PRP, involvement in rheumatology, research, and collaboration with research team. When you see alignment with OMRACT objectives, OMRACT has its own goals. We have the spirit of OMRACT, and we have objectives that we want to pursue. And in the questionnaire or in the application form, there are examples as well. So it's also about for instance, it's about contribution to diversity and inclusion of perspectives. So we don't want a lot of people having the same shared experience, having the same set of skills. We want diversity in all aspects, not only in geography, but also in background, in gender, in disease diagnosis, whatever. So that also counts. And of course, we want to know about motivation and impact as well. We ask for your personal motivation to be at OMRAC, so to be in Turkey. Why do you want to be in Turkey? You really, before you apply, really think about why you want to be there, except for that's a lovely country with sunshine and lovely food, etc. But think about why do you want and need to be there? And not only why you want to be there, but also what will you bring? What will you bring to this meeting? And what will you take back from it to the patient community or the research community in general? So that's, let me see, because, yeah, the information in general that we ask for to us or to the selection committee, I must say, is really insightful information. It's about your background, it's about your experience, it's about your work, your career, your academic career. But we also ask questions about previous patient research work, of course, but also your networks, your national networks, your international networks, your working group within your country, and also networks and patient groups you're collaborating with across the borders. We want, please just write down whatever you think will be helpful for us to get a picture of who you are and what you will bring to the conference, but also make sure that you write down all the information that really not will only help us, but will help you get there. So, and why we do this, because it takes quite a lot of time to answer all these questions, depending on a lot of things. But why we do this as well, apart from the conference, we also want this database of patient research partners. We often get requests from like working group leaders or project leaders, and they ask for a patient research partner that is like, that can do A, B, and Z, and is experienced in this and that. And, or they just say, well, this is our new working group, this is our aim, our objective, and we need a patient research partner, and please find us a good fit, which is quite difficult if we don't have all the information we need, especially, well, not only with new people, but even with experienced OMRACTors. People grow, people evolve. So for us, it is helpful to make a good match, to make sure it's a good fit, and to ensure the right level of expertise and experience. And for that, we rely on all the information you see here on this slide. Again, There's a lot of questions, but every question is, we hope, really straightforward. There are some examples, things you can think of, but please feel free to think out of the box. We really like that, actually. And can I see the next slide, please, Jonna?
Can I just jump in, Ingrid? I
Yeah,
think
sure.
it would be good for me to explain why we're doing this. This is quite a departure from the normal way that we chose people to come to a conference. In previous years, each of the working groups that was going to have a special interest group or a workshop at OMERACT would nominate one of their PRPs from their group to come to the conference, and OMERACT Central would give that working group a chunk of money to cover the costs of that. Last year, before OMERACT 2023 in Colorado Springs, for a variety of reasons, that whole process proved to be a complete nightmare. We were constantly waiting on people to make decisions. Decisions were changed. Decisions to come to the conference were changed, and then we had to tell a PRP that they were no longer coming to the conference because their working group wasn't coming to the conference. We were chasing people. I say we, the royal we, Shauna was chasing people constantly to get information from them. We should have had all the information by early September, and it was late in November before we got that information. It was January before we had confirmations of people who were coming, which left the PRP team a very, very short window of time to get everyone prepared for what they were going to experience at Colorado Springs. And we decided, and it was a we decision, that that just wasn't going to work anymore. We needed to take that power and that decision making away from the working groups, because it was just one more thing they had to do. It was one more bit of work that they had to do, and one co-chair would think another co-chair was taking care of it and they weren't doing it, and so it was a mess. So now the funding is coming from OMERACT Central, and as you can see, our applications are out way in advance. So we're hoping by the time that the group of people that is chosen to come to OMERACT 2025, that we will have a year to work with you. And, you know, anybody who is not familiar, because we're hoping to have a balance of new PRPs and experienced PRPs like we always do. We will buddy them together. We will also, you know, make sure that the new PRPs are up to speed with what's going on, that they'll have a really good, solid understanding of how OMERACT works. And the other part of it is, it's just, I was at one of the business advisory committee meetings at ACR, and it really puts it home to you how much that sponsor money means to OMERACT to be able to do what they do. And as Ingrid said, it's expensive to bring someone to that conference. And I think that we really needed to change the way we were doing things to be fully respectful of our sponsors' money. That, you know, that money isn't given lightly. It takes a lot of relationship building and a lot of work to get that sponsorship funds from those companies that give it to us. And I think we need to be very respectful of how we spend it, and to make sure that we've got the best of the best sitting in those chairs when we go to OMERACT 2025. So this is the way we've decided to do it. And as Ingrid so perfectly put it, that, you know, the big thing is that we have never had, we talk about it generally, and but we don't really have an understanding of what everyone's experience and networking opportunities are. And if we get a call, we get calls from working groups that they're doing some special have a task force that they want to put together for a special Delphi or something, whatever it is, that they're looking for somebody. But if we don't know what your experience is, we don't know what your skill set is in terms of research, then we can't marry those people together. And we want to make the best choices, and we don't want to waste your time by putting, you know, offering an opportunity to one of you that doesn't really fit what you're interested in or where your passions lie. So this is why we want to expand our knowledge in terms of your networks and your experience over time. Many of you have been working in either the arthritis community or, you know, some musculoskeletal community for many, many years and just have a wealth of experience. And we want to be able to call on that, you know, so we need to have that information. But we hope that by doing this, that we can pick the right people to come to considering our mission and what our themes are. We're hoping that we can pick the best people to be in those chairs so that we have a tremendously successful OMERACT. And so that's why we've changed it this year. And it isn't so that we can weed people out, or it isn't so that, you know, we can, for any other reason than just to make sure that we're being very mindful of our sponsors' money, and that we're choosing the people that best fit what we're trying to accomplish there. So hopefully that helps to understand why we've changed it.
Thank you, Kathy. That was very useful. And I forgot to say about this slide, you see halfway diversity and inclusion, previous OMERACT participation, geographic representation. These are things that all have to do with both diversity and inclusion. But as Kathy said, newbies, as we call them, with the best I don't know how to say, but the newbies, the new OMERACT people, we really love to have them on board as well. So it's not like if you see previous OMERACT participation, you might be taken aback and think, well, I've never been before, so I don't have a chance. No way, you absolutely do have a chance, because we do buddy you up with a experienced one. And as Kathy said, we really want to have this mix. And that also goes for geographic representation. We don't want all the people from one country or one continent. It also is about, we don't want just people with RA, for instance. We want different diagnoses. So we want a mix. We want to be inclusive. We want to be diverse. And there's one other thing, not the last one, but the one on top of that, the funding and travel bursaries. That is a question about whether you do have your own sponsors, because sometimes people get sponsored or get funding from their national patient organization. So we ask about that as well. Okay, next slide, please, Shauna. So how to apply? You've seen in the emails leading up to this meeting, there's a link to the OMERACT application, and it's very easy. Be prepared to set aside sufficient time. We've heard people who've done it within like 15 minutes. Some people take 30 minutes. Some people take over 1 or 2 hours. Don't be afraid when you hear 2 hours. It depends on things like, is English your first language, for instance? What do you want to bring across? If you do have a lot of experience and you want to sort of bulk that off all together, you have to think about how you're gonna put that in your application. So that these are all factors that influence how much time is needed.
And I think you can start and stop it. Like you can start doing it and then walk away and then come back to it again. You don't have to do it all in one go.
No, you can have your cup of coffee. And that's why it took me over 3 hours, but that's because I had a lot of tea in between and because I have a new laptop. So I had to find the documents and my CV, etc. So don't be taken aback by that. It's a lot of people say about 30 minutes, but make sure you go and take your time and sit for it. And March 1 is the 1st of March it's 2 weeks from now, not even that, 1.5 weeks, I think. So it's coming up quickly. So be sure to be prepared. And that's also important because we also ask for a letter of support. And that could be either from your working group leader, if you are already involved within OMERACT, or not the working group leader or a chair or a co-chair or someone you worked with, but it can also be someone outside OMERACT. So if you've been active in another research project or a network, please feel free to ask them as well. But make sure that you give them plenty of time as well, because March 1st is coming up quickly, and we all know that, well, at least, no, I think most clinicians and researchers have a very tight schedule. And I don't know your experience, but in the Netherlands, we most of the time, if we ask for something, we get it like a few hours before the deadline expires. And that's I'm not sure about other countries, but that's something that's not really helping when you're nervous. So make sure you get yourself plenty of time, but also the people you need to write this support letters. So I think that's all I have to say about that, unless Mary, Shauna, or Kathy have something else to say.
No, I think you've all covered that really well. I think I just want to emphasize some of Kathy's points, actually. You know, this is part of us really evolving and growing that PRP network and making it a really strong network for OMERACT, and ensuring also that you as PRPs have that really good support and that strength behind what we do. So you'll probably see, those of you who've been with us for quite some time will have seen how the PRP network's evolving, and this is part of that as well. Just to emphasize on Ingrid's point about the letter of support, I can vouch for sometimes you're sitting on the edge of the wire waiting for your letter to come in, because they are obviously tremendously busy people as well. So yeah, do make sure that you get plenty of notice for your letter of support if one of your key contacts does decide to go straight to the wire for you as well. Shauna did put up in the slides as well, if you can send the letter of support to admin@omeract.org as well. So we've got some time now for any questions. I haven't seen any questions in the chat, which is good, maybe. That we've done a good job with the slides and you're all quite clear what to do. But has anybody got any questions? Oh, and Shauna's really helpfully put the application website link in the chat there for you as well. Did you have any questions? Everybody's shy. Oh, Pam's got a hand up. Wonderful, Pam.
Yeah, so if people are involved in a number of projects, not just, sort of related to OMERACT, not just the ones at home, how will we know which of our projects are going to be at OMERACT? So
Shauna, would you like to answer that?
Form that we're involved in, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 working groups. Not all of those working groups will be at OMERACT in 2025. So how will you know? And also, there might be other groups that we would, as Kathy said, we would want to have some involvement with, or we feel as though there's a bit of a fit.
Shauna, do you want to pick that up, or Kathy?
You don't?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can, with the notification, we know who the working groups are going to be. I think we could share that, certainly. I can share a list right now, and then I need to write a reminder to put it on the website, but just to have a look at who's coming for the meeting.
And it isn't going to be, so if your working group that you mainly work with isn't coming, that doesn't preclude you from coming to the conference.
Right.
Oh, that's
You
a
don't-
difference, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be with one of the working groups that is having a SIG or a workshop at the conference to be included in the conference. Last year, we included 3 PRPs that were not affiliated with a SIG that was going to be at the conference in Colorado Springs, because those people had stood out for us as being people that we thought we needed to have at the conference. And mainly because of their participation in OMERACT 2020, the virtual OMERACT, they really stood out. And so we included those people in the group that was at Colorado Springs. And we decided that that actually made some sense, that it didn't have to be just from the 16 working groups that are going to be at OMRACT 2025 that the group of PRPs comes from?
I'm just trying to make it a little bit, I wanted to show you what the workshops were. So that certainly sort of hits on what Kathy's talking about as far as bringing PRPs to help support OMRACT sort of central workshops. So our workshops, we're going to have one on composites that talk about how to validate a composite measure through the filter. So we're just actually starting that work. So if that's something anybody on this call is interested in, please add that to your application. We'll have a equity, diversity, and inclusivity workshop, and then we're going to have another workshop on instrument selection through OMRACT. I'm not sure which stage. We haven't really started planning for that, but those are just sort of the three more general sessions that'll be happening at the meeting on top of the SIGs.
Does that make sense, Pam? Good.
Yeah, that's super. Can I just add one little thing? I might have missed it, but it's in when we go to OMRACT. We know, you know, those of us who've been, we know that we're involved in things that don't have any relation to our health conditions, or we might go to a session that isn't our own health condition, but we're there as patients, so we can still give a patient perspective. I know, you know, occasionally people think that they're only going to go, they only have to go to their own session, yeah, and then they can go out and have a nice time.
That's a very good point, Pam. And the other part of that is that we want to introduce you to some of the other working groups that are part of OMRACT. That a lot of times when you get into a working group, you just stay with that working group and you don't get to experience how other working groups work, or how their work is being done, or who leads the group. So we like to introduce you and give you some experience with some of these other working groups. I was very fortunate because my first working group was an excellent working group. They were really, really good. The co-chairs were fabulous. But I had no idea how any of the other working groups worked. And so you could be in, you know, you could be like, Ingrid is part of the myositis group, but she could also join the pain working group if she wanted to. So, you know, we on top of the working group that you may be affiliated with, then you will be introduced to other working groups as well. And there are other sessions that you will be expected to attend. And A, to give the patient perspective, but B, to give you that experience of being within another working group to see how it works. And you may find that you're really, really interested in it, or like shared decision making, or, you know, different working groups like that. I think it's really important that you get that exposure to those other working groups.
And I think Alex has just put in the chat there that he learned a ton from all the working group meetings that weren't in his own group session last year. And I think that goes for all of us. You know, my first OMRACT in Budapest, I'd gone as part of the pain working group. And then I got so much involved in other different groups as well afterwards. So even though you've got your almost like special interest topic then, I guess, that you've worked with, you also bring a lot of input to other groups as well, because this is about your experience and your lived experience of living with a rheumatic and musculoskeletal condition as well. And that just enriches all the sessions. So the wider knowledge that can come into those discussions and those groups, the better. Any more? Oh, Bob has just said, do not have enough interaction with OMRACT to be selected. That's not necessarily so, Bob.
But he says yet, so I think he gets the feeling. So go for it, Bob.
Yes, Bob.
Absolutely.
And to come back to the earlier point from both Kathy and Ingrid as well, this is about us getting a mix of, as Ingrid called them, newbies. And it's not an odd term at all. It's new OMRACT PRPs coming into the OMRACT meetings. And those roles are so valuable to have that new insight and that new perspective into those discussions and the SIGs and the working groups. All of us have been a newbie at some point as well. I guarantee you, once you get the Umarac bug, that will be it. You will get completely sucked in and absolutely love it. But we do provide plenty of support and training and information for you in the run up to Umarac as well. So don't feel that you're coming into it completely blind. So yeah, get that application in, Bob. Please do.
And Alex attended Colorado Springs, and he is a caregiver. He does not live with disease himself, but his son does. And so he came as a caregiver, and I think that was maybe the first time that we had a caregiver at one of our conferences. Pam's got her hand up again.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't be sorry, Pam.
One of the things I was going to say, that we're all newbies at some point. We all went for the first time at some point. And often, because I've done a lot of training to help other patients become PRPs, and it's the naivety of a new patient, of a person becoming a new PRP, that often is the most valuable, because those of us who've been involved for a long time, and particularly those I find who are professional, either doctors and health conditions, and they join as a PRP, that's harder, because you gloss over, you kind of make excuses as to why you won't say that. And we won't say that because we know that that's not going to be possible. Whereas somebody who hasn't got all of those preconceived perceptions because of their long experience of being a PRP, they'll say it as it is. And that's what the researchers need to hear. They just want to hear as it is, and not somebody making excuses as to why it is the way it is.
It's the value of that very raw story that is so integral to Omarac's work. So never discount that, you don't know enough, or, we provide that support and that the learning modules and everything. So, rest assured that if you are going, that you will feel up to speed by the time you get there and ready to hit the ground running.
And we also run some sessions as a PRP support team in the run up to Umarac as well. We'll do some introductory sessions to give you a bit of an idea about what goes on at Umarac, but also to look at some of the topics. Bit of a question and answer session like today. So anything that you might be wondering about before going to Umarac as well. And I think we usually do, is it about 3 of those, Kathy, in the run up to Umarac? And again, making sure you're equipped when you come and you turn up in Turkey, that you feel prepared, that you've got all the information you need as well.
And you don't come to Omaract and we say, okay, go out and learn and have a good time and enjoy and, do good work at your sessions. The PRPs meet every single day during Omaract, and it's a time for you to give us feedback as to what's working well, what isn't working well, anything you may be concerned about. We just have that touch point every day. And we also have WhatsApp, and we're chatting with one another all the time at the conference. So if all of a sudden you feel that you need some support going into a working group session or a SIG session, then we'll make sure that you've got that support. So, during the conference itself, there's a ton of support from the team.
Yeah, and we will help you prepare by like the happy hour calls when you get to know the others. So we're all familiar. The first time you actually meet, you've actually seen each other a couple of times online. And we offer support, we offer education, but then again, we talked about responsibility. So it's also up to you to make sure that whatever we offer, that you take time to learn that. You don't have to learn it by heart, but at least what really helped me is like Omaract is a language in itself, the methodology language. And you probably, when you read the handbook, you think, oh my gosh, what are these words? So make sure you're at least familiar with that. So you are able to communicate with other people. and you learn soon enough, that's not the problem. But make sure that you are, well, I just want you to be aware that it's also up to you, and it's of course up to us. And I think if we all do our thing, we will be a terrific team again. And I see 2 questions. Stacey,
I think
first.
Stacey was first, and then Lorna.
And lovely to see the familiar faces that I have come across over the last number of years. I haven't seen some of you for a while, so it's lovely to see you. I suppose I'm just wondering around the logistics. I've been involved with Euler for many years, and I suppose I know they're quite long days. I'm just wondering what time you start and finish. I'm also wondering in relation to the temperatures in Turkey, how best to prepare to not have a flare. And also, is there PA support because if I'm starting early, I'm not very good early, and I'm coming from a country that's probably a couple of hours, the time difference to adjust, where we were all probably in a similar situation. So I just wondered those 3 questions.
Who wants to pick that one up, Cassie or
Yeah,
Shauna?
I can talk a little bit. I just tossed up. This
fab.
is just
Thank you,
a
Shauna.
very draft program that we're looking at right now. I can guarantee it's going to change, but this is sort of what it looks like and what is going out to the properties when we're, finalizing our rooms and things. So you'll see that we do consistently have a fairly big break in the day for lunch. We call it relationship building and lunch, and it's sort of a time to regroup before the evening. Our days used to be a lot longer. I think some of the PRPs on this call can speak to starting at 8 a.m. and finishing at 11 p.m. After our meeting in Australia, we took that feedback and basically just chopped off the day after dinner. So you don't see it on here, but dinner would be after your session at 7 o'clock. And because we used to have dinner and then have another round of SIGs. So you'll see all of that is just deleted off the program. And you'll see that we run sessions in parallel. So because we have so many applications, this year we had 26 for 16 spots. We have to run them side by side, which again is a bit of a scheduling problem, especially if you have 2 SIGs you're really interested in. Sometimes it's unavoidable for me to have 2 beside each other because of co-chairs and things, although I try my best. Weather in Turkey in May, I think it's going to be around between 20, I think they said 22 and 25 is the average. I did a site visit in September. It was extremely hot. Now, all that to say, all of our spaces are inside in air conditioning, and they have on-site physicians. It's a requirement in Turkey. All of the properties have to have them. Is that, trying to think if I missed anything in those questions? Anything I didn't cover?
The PA support, Shauna.
No, what is that?
Personal assistant.
We don't have that. What would that be? What does that mean? Sorry.
Someone to come with you to support you whilst you're there, or to give you some support while you're there. So the practical support. Like for instance, I bring Tony with me. My partner comes with me, but I meet his costs.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't. I can write it down, and for discussion, I don't have an answer on that immediately.
And many of these themes, especially how to prepare climate-wise or with flares, these are also topics that we cover in the happy hours. But I assume some of you might want to know before you apply. But so it's good that you ask right now. But it's also something we talk about coming nearer to the actual conference.
So we're getting quite close to finish time. Are we okay if we move on to Lorna's question? Is that okay? Stacey, do drop us a line if you want a bit more information.
Referring back to the last one, I always think of it as the flight socks problem. I remember arriving, I think it was in Budapest, and there was a whole group of us, or no, it would be Canada. And everybody was arriving the next day saying, could you get your flight socks on?
Yeah.
No, no way, first thing in the morning. Now, help to get them on, but you can't get them off. I was really wanting to ask about the other end of the spectrum, the oldies rather than the newbies. I have been wondering about putting in an application because I feel I'm pretty much at the end of my sell-by date. And although I absolutely love to be there, it might not be fair if I weren't able then to spend the next few years passing on what I've learned or contributing in such a way. I know that I will be winding down over the next few years, having reached an even bigger anniversary than anyone else was talking about. So, just in this informal meeting, what would you think about that?
I would certainly apply.
Yeah.
Because as I said, it's going to be a mix of people. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that everybody on the PRP support team will even be there. All of us have to apply. All the people in the support team have to apply because we really, truly want to have the best people that we can have in those seats, in those working groups and or the special interest groups and the workshops. And that's what our goal is. And we are committed to, OMRAC's always had an equity working group, but now we're really ramping that up into the EDI. And we have agreed that we are going to have a special lens for equity, diversity, and inclusivity when we make our selections. So I would apply.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you. That helps.
Angie, you had your hand up as well. We can squeeze your question in.
Oh, I just asked directly. Sorry. I didn't know with the meetings that are conflicting, will those discussions be recorded and all for us to listen to afterwards or so if we have a conflicting special interest group or so to attend?
Yeah. So I mean, we haven't had a lot of views on YouTube of the SIGs that happened, but we did record them all at the last meeting. And I like to have it because actually one of our groups right now is moving into an online, well, Edith is on here to speak to it, but they're going to be getting endorsement for their core domain set. And actually we went back to the video that we had from Colorado Springs, and they use some of that video as their pre-learning materials. So it's kind of nice to give to people, especially for people who are going to be brand new, never participated. We can just say, okay, here's the SIG from last year. You can have a look at so that it gives you a good understanding. So they're not amazing recordings by any means. It's like a little camera on top of but yes.
They're all on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, do we not?
We do, yes.
Yeah.
So even right now, if you're not sure, you can go to look at some of those.